Well, good morning and welcome to First Presbyterian Pine City Church Online. We are so glad that you have been able to join us this morning. We are a church that is about helping people take the next step in their walk with Jesus, whether you're a brand new believer, longtime follower, or somewhere in between. We want to partner with you in helping you find and follow Jesus Christ. Well, as you can see, we're not able to be together just yet. As soon as we're able to safely gather together, as soon as we're permitted to, we are going to be together. We're going to get some exciting things planned for the weeks ahead. But in the meantime, I just pray that God would use this time that we're sharing together in this virtual environment to bless you as we look at His Word together this morning. Well, restrictions are beginning to ease, and things are finally going to return to some semblance of normal, whatever the new normal is. And different people have different reactions to that. It's very fascinating. I know one guy said his wife, she burst into tears. She's like crying, and he says, "Well, what's the matter?" And she says, "Well, I haven't lost weight and organized the closet and cleaned the house and all of these things that she wanted to do during the whole quarantine type things." And maybe you can kind of relate to that. I know when this whole thing first started and it looked like, okay, it was only going to be a couple weeks, I thought, oh, you know what? That's a great opportunity for me to catch up on some reading and maybe work ahead in my sermons and sort of to begin to take it easy a little bit and do some of the things that have been on my to-do list that I haven't gotten to in a long time. In fact, I came up with a list. Things to do during the COVID-19 quarantine, outbreak, whatever. And I wrote like 15 of them down. And things like try some new recipes and bake some food and give it away to other people, or read a book, write a book, deep clean the house, clean my office, go learn some new skills online, write a letter, sell stuff online. Scan old pictures into the computer. I've got tons of those. I've wanted to do that forever. All of these things that I thought, well, I can accomplish all of this. And 2 weeks into the shutdown, we decided, hey, we need to provide some sort of opportunity for people to connect during this time. And so we came up with the online service idea. Well, my life went from kind of a casual walk to all of a sudden about 300 mile an hour plus pace. Suddenly my schedule was crammed full because I had to learn all sorts of stuff about video editing and production and lighting and engineering and how to put things online and web hosting and online service portals and broadcasting and all of these different things, plus preparing and recording messages and all of the other stuff that I'm responsible for each week. I got to be honest with you. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I mean, maybe you can relate. Maybe when the pandemic hit, your life didn't slow or stop. It might have gotten faster. You're still working, but it looks a little bit different. Or you're still traveling to work, or you're at home and the kids are at home and you're trying to help with distance learning, and that's a whole other deal. Or you're online, where you're trying to work remotely online, and that's crazy, and you're kind of exhausted too. I thought it was maybe just me at first, but then I heard about an article in Bloomberg last week. 45% of employees say that they are burned out. Not burning out, they are burnt out. 45%. And the average workday has expanded by 3 hours. 3 hours more a day. No wonder we're feeling tired and burnt out. Now, there's a whole other group of people for whom life came to a screeching halt, and you're kind of trapped in your house or your apartment, and the walls that sort of defined your home suddenly feel like prison walls, and it's like, I just want to get out and do something. You haven't been able to see friends, you haven't been able to go to the store, you haven't been able to attend worship services or do any of the things that you're used to doing, and you just want to do something, just anything in life. It stopped, but it's stressing you out. I heard somebody put it this way the other day. We are not all in the same boat, but we are all in the same storm. And it's affecting different people differently, but it's affecting all of us. And if I could just tell you this, it is okay to grieve. It's okay to grieve because this has caused loss for all of us. We have all suffered loss in some way because of what has been going on. And for a lot of us, we resist that. We don't like those negative emotions. And so our initial impulse is to kind of turn on the optimism, turn on the positivity. It's going to be okay. And God's going to teach us something through this, and something good will come, and this will be an opportunity to grow. And I think all of that's true, but it's not all necessarily timely or helpful. It's okay to pause in the midst of all this and just grieve what has been lost. It's an extremely painful time for many of us personally, as well as for our country. It's okay if you didn't get 50 things accomplished and your whole to-do list to done, and you ended up sitting around and binging Wheel of Fortune and eating, and maybe eating more than you had planned to eat. Somebody said they've been gaining weight, and it's been called the COVID-19, right? Ecclesiastes tells us it's okay. There's a time to grieve. There's a time to grieve. That's okay. And if that's where you are this morning, I just want you to know you're not alone in that. You're not alone. We understand, and our prayers and our thoughts are with you, and we'll be with you as soon as we possibly can. But I think one of the worst things that can come out of all of this is that we go back, restrictions are lifted, things begin to reopen, we rush right back into living our lives the way that we had been living them, without taking that time to not only to grieve, but to reflect on the state of our souls. See, I think there's that temptation, because I don't know about you, I am tired of hearing about the coronavirus and COVID-19, and I'm tired of talking about it. I don't know if anybody else is like that. That's the topic of conversation everywhere. You just can't escape it. I've started blocking people on Facebook who are posting articles about some doctor saying this or that or the other thing. I'm just done. I DVR the morning news, mostly for the weather, and I get to the COVID-19 coverage, and I fast forward through it. I'll hit the highlights or the headlines, but I'm just kind of done. I'm tired of all the buzzwords, social distancing and distance learning and the new normal and essential businesses and all of that kind of stuff. And I think because, if you're like me, I think because we've grown so weary of all of this, the temptation is for us to rush out and just try to put the last couple of months behind us like it was some bad dream. Somebody's called it the great pause. We want to hit play, hit fast forward. We want to get going back to the way things were. And while we can do that in some areas of our life, I think we need to be real careful when it comes to our spiritual life and the state of our souls. We dare not neglect caring for our inner selves. And the temptation for a lot of us is to get back to the fast-paced busyness of our lives. Because in our culture, busyness is a badge of honor. How are you doing? I'm keeping busy. And I'm busy because busy means that you're productive, and productive means you're successful and you're accomplishing things. And so if you're accomplishing things and you're successful, you have great self-worth. Right? You're worth a lot because you're accomplishing so much. And so our culture says you are what you accomplish, so stay busy, stay productive, so you have this sense of self-worth. And of course, the busier that you are and the more productive you are, the higher your value. And so we keep speeding up. We're like a runner running down a steep hill. We just keep gaining momentum and going faster and faster. And eventually, we're going to trip and we're going to fall and we're going to crash. And that's just the pull of our culture in our society. It's something that author Meyer Friedman calls hurry sickness. Hurry sickness. And he defines it this way. He says, hurry sickness is a continuous struggle, an unremitting attempt to accomplish or achieve more and more things, or participate in more and more events in less and less time. And some of you know that feeling. Even in the midst of this pandemic and lockdown, we have been forced to stop externally. A lot of our external activities, we're forced to slow down on the outside, but our inner selves, our souls, we're still going at a high rate of speed, and we're heading for a collision. Now, surprisingly enough, even though this tendency toward hurry is amplified in our society, this isn't a new phenomenon. In fact, during one hectic season of ministry, the Apostle Mark talks about Jesus' disciples. And he says, many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat. There was so much activity, so much busyness, that they didn't even have a chance to eat. And some people look at that and go, hey, that could be my life verse. God's going to reward a hectic life someday. Good job, you were so busy, you didn't even have time to eat. Well done. Not so much. Jesus knew about this phenomenon, and he constantly withdrew from the crowds, and he withdrew from the activities, and he taught his followers to do the same. He sees what's going on here, and he says to his followers, Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. See, if you want to follow someone, you can't go faster than the one who's leading. Following Jesus can't be done at a sprint. John Ortberg writes, Jesus was often busy, but he was never hurried. Being busy is an outer condition. Being hurried is a sickness of the soul. Jesus went about in the busyness of his ministry, but he never did it in a way that got in the way of his connection to the Father. It never got in the way of his ability to love other people. John Ortberg writes, hurry is the great enemy of spiritual life in our day. Hurry destroys souls. One of the things I notice is that when I'm feeling hurried, I have less time for other people. I'm distracted and more easily irritated and more frustrated by little things that happen. And I end up feeling overwhelmed and depressed. Does that describe you ever at all? Now, how much of a danger this is for you may depend on your personality type, because some people are type A, driven, we're addicted to speed and success and accomplishment and achievement. We want all of that. We love that. Doing more and more and more. Other people, this is not a big problem for you. In fact, the other end of the spectrum, there's some people who, you just need to get up off the couch and do something. But that's a message for another time. As much as we complain about it, though, there's part of us which is drawn to the hurried life. It makes us feel important. It means I don't have to look too hard at my own heart or life. It keeps us from feeling our loneliness. As long as I have meetings and projects to work on, I can demonstrate to other people that I'm an important person. You see, hurry is not just a disordered schedule. Hurry is a disordered heart. In times of crisis or stress, really uncovers that kind of thing in our lives. I'm reminded of the prophet Elijah in the Old Testament. Elijah's a great guy. You can read all about him in the book of 1 Kings. He had an incredible life. He courageously confronts, at one point, 450 idolatrous prophets of Baal, single-handedly, at great risk to his own life. Then, under his inspired preaching, multitudes of previously resistant Israelites fall to the ground and worship the one true God. Then Elijah prophesies to his mortal enemy, the wicked king Ahab, that there would be an end to this years-long drought. At one point, Elijah runs in the rain from Mount Carmel to the Jezreel Valley, which was about 15 miles away. And he outruns a chariot in the rain. I was thinking, if I owned a shoe company, a running shoe company, I would have a shoe called the Elijah, faster than a chariot. I don't know how fast a chariot is, but it's faster than me, right? Wouldn't that be a great shoe? Well, Queen Jezebel gets wind of everything that's going on. And so she puts a hit out on his life. 1 Kings 19 says Ahab told Jezebel everything Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. So Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah to say, "May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them." She's like, "Elijah, I am taking you down just like you took down my prophets." Now, I don't know if that would stress you out at all, but it kind of stressed Elijah out. He doesn't want to get what the Baal prophets got, and so he decides to self-quarantine. The text says Elijah was afraid and he ran for his life. And we know he's a pretty fast runner. Elijah flees all the way to the far southern part of Israel. It says when he came to Beersheba in Judah, he left his servant there while he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness. He came to a broom bush, sat down under it, and prayed that he might die. "I have had enough, Lord," he said. "Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors." Elijah is tired and he's stressed and he's depressed. And no wonder, look at all the stuff he had just been through. He needed some time to recover. So look how God handles it. It says, Elijah lay down under the bush and fell asleep. All at once an angel touched him and said, "Get up and eat." And Elijah looked around, and there by his head was a cake. If you've ever heard of angel food cake, this is where it got started. Right? He literally had angel food cake, and then Elijah takes another nap, and the angel gives him the second cake. He treats Elijah like you would treat a cranky toddler. Have a snack, take a nap. Elijah, he's just tired. You ever get tired? Sometimes, according to the Bible, the most spiritual thing you can do is to take a nap. John Ortberg sums it up this way. He says, you will never reach consistent spiritual renewal in a state of perpetual physical exhaustion. And maybe this season is a good time to address that. Maybe you feel tired today. You're running fast and you're stressed out and you're about to head back into the stream of life after COVID-19, whatever that looks like. But you want to do it with wisdom. And you're among the vulnerable when it comes to this hurry virus that afflicts so many of us. So what do you do? Maybe a better question is, what do you not do? Often when we talk about spiritual formation, people will talk about certain practices or disciplines to kind of help us grow to become more like Jesus. There's basically two categories or two types of these disciplines. You have disciplines of engagement, where you do something, and disciplines of abstinence, where you stop doing certain things. If hurry sickness is something that you're prone to, a useful discipline might be what's called the practice of slowing. The practice of slowing. Think about ways you can slow down in your life. Maybe you're driving along on the interstate, and you get into the right lane, and you drive the speed limit. And when somebody passes you, instead of trying to pass them, you just ask God to bless them. Or you're done shopping at Walmart, and you look around at the checkout lanes, and you find the longest line, and you get in that line. And then you let somebody go ahead of you. Or you eat your food slowly, not in front of the TV, but just quietly enjoying what God has blessed you with. Or you look at your to-do list, and you begin to move some things off of to-do today to do next week, or tomorrow, or next month. Or you take a vacation. You can call it a staycation if you want, but I always thought the word staycation was kind of silly. Of course, I'm the guy that's trying to get Corona teen to become a word, so what do I know? But you take a vacation from work, and you don't do projects around the house, but you sleep in, and you read a book, and you go for a walk, or you go for a run, but you run slower than usual, which for some people is walking, but you can call it whatever you want. You can still call it a run. You just enjoy God's creation. Or, if you're preaching, you make your sermon a little shorter so people can actually begin to implement some of the ideas that you have for slowing down. Learn to pace yourself. Remember, life is not a sprint. It's more like a marathon. And our spiritual life is the same way. However you choose to engage in this discipline of slowing, while you do it, just tell God that you're trusting Him to enable you to accomplish everything that needs to get done. See, a lot of people worry that if they don't rush, they're going to accomplish less. In fact, researchers have found there is no correlation between hurry and productivity. You'll discover that you can survive without hurry. But it won't happen just by trying real hard, nor will it happen instantly. You're going to have to enter into a new way of life. Well, if you want to spend a little more time thinking and reading about this topic, there's two books I would highly commend to you. One is John Ortberg's book, Soul Keeping, and another is a book by John Mark Comer called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Both are excellent and highly, highly recommended. But right now, I just want to invite you to take a few minutes as we go to God in prayer. Just wherever you're watching this, just bow your head, close your eyes, allow the pressures and the distractions of the things around you to begin to fade away. Spend a few moments just thanking God for His presence. Now just tell God what's on your heart right now. What are the anxieties and the concerns and the pressures that are just getting you down? Just give them over to God. Now thank God for His promise to walk with us through whatever we face. Psalm 46 reminds us, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging. God says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress.